It's a curiosity and a fascination which had me gravitate towards that work and sort of discover that there's this entire world that's really endless. So just being happy to be on a sort of never-ending journey of discovering those things, and also discovering new things about myself. Because I'm a Black person from the United States, there's also an element of self-discovery that's there, an element of reclamation that's there, because I'm not only learning these things and this information, I'm also reenacting something with the act of weaving. I'm reenacting something with the act of wood carving. I'm reenacting something with the act of indigo dyeing and using other natural dyes indigenous to Africa. There's a spiritual and meditative component, also a therapeutic component to that. My name is Stephen Hamilton. I am an artist, educator, and researcher from Boston, Massachusetts. The work that you're seeing here at the Watershed, it's basically sort of a snapshot into my artistic praxis. So as an artist and as an educator, I'm very, very interested in the art history of pre-colonial Africa and the cultural relationships that exist between pre-colonial Africa and the African diaspora. The pieces that I included in this space pretty much show a little bit of my process and a little bit of the traditional handcraft that I do. So you're seeing some examples of adire. So adire is a traditional tie and dye. Adire oniko, which literally means to tie and dye with raffia. It's the Yoruba term for resist dyeing, tie and stitch resist dyeing, typically done with indigo. So the pieces that you're seeing that are resist dyed are all dyed with indigo. Some are using other local dyes. I'm also including a piece which is hand woven. I'm also a traditional weaver. I learned traditional weaving and dyeing at the Nikkei Center for Art and Culture. And I learned the traditional upright weaving techniques which are used in that part of Nigeria. During the transatlantic slave trade, massive amounts of those textiles were purchased in exchange for enslaved people in other parts of Africa. It was also a commodity which was used in exchange for gold. And also many of the both skilled and unskilled workers who were involved in that industry, people who were cultivating and spinning cotton, people who were dyeing with indigo, that was also part of a base pool of enslaved people that were brought to the Americas, to parts of the Caribbean and Latin America and the United States, most notably South Carolina, to work on indigo plantations and then later cotton plantations. So there's an important relationship between that textile tradition and also Afro-American, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latinx history. So, as I tell my students, because, for a while, I was also an illustration professor, research is incredibly important when you're trying to create a world. The image itself is of 3 women, and you see them carrying symbols which are associated with these powerful forces. So the central figure wears an itagbe, which is a sash which has symbols related to the goddess Ile. The emblems, the symbols that are on the cloth are symbols of water spirits, frogs, snakes, fish, these potent water spirits which also have symbolic relationship with the earth goddess, but also are coded as these sort of powerful feminine symbols. The Ogboni society is comprised typically of men and women, sometimes mostly men with one female elder. But I wanted to sort of reference that society because there's a feminine aspect to it because it's related to the worship of the earth goddess, even though it incorporates both men and women working together. One figure has a mortar and pestle. She has a mortar, and her hands are stained with indigo. Traditionally, women are indigo dyers. And because this is a profession which is dominated by women, it's a female profession, and it's also a profession which historically earned women a lot of wealth. It is also symbolic of feminine power in that way. So indigo dyers, aladire, were often very wealthy women, but also because they were working with indigo, which, the processing is an alchemical process. You don't just boil it in a pot and then you're able to get indigo. It has to be fermented, it's reduced, it's using alkali solutions and allowing it to ferment for a certain amount of time in order to sort of deoxygenate the pot. And then when you dip cloth in indigo, it's green, and as it oxidizes in the air, it turns blue. So there's something very magical about that. So, you know, there's a lot of very layered imagery that I try to incorporate into the work because, like, again, the work is fruit of research. So I want to sort of condense that in a way which everyone can enjoy.